Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we come together to learn more about building intelligent media solutions. My name is Hassan Mohsini. I'm the program manager for Microsoft Reactor in Abu Dhabi. Microsoft Reactors are hubs for founders and developers to meet, learn, and connect to local peers, as well as industry-leading ideas and technology from Microsoft, partners, and the open source community. It's also home to the Microsoft for Startups program, with a diverse mix of hands-on workshops, expert panels, and community events. There is something for everyone. Check out our calendar of events on meetup.com and join our coming sessions. Our speaker today is Rami Sarieddine. Rami is a senior cloud solution architect at Microsoft with 13 years of experience across industries and a wealth of domain expertise on developing and deploying cloud-native solutions. Rami has been mentoring startups in the UAE for the past 6 years. He's also a published author with 2 titles. He's also a published author with 2 titles on web development technologies. Feel free to ask questions during the session. We will have regular stops to answer these questions. And also feel free to tweet about the session and tag us on Reactor Abu Dhabi. That's the hashtag, and MSFT Reactor. That's our Twitter handle. Make sure you adjust also the playback settings to select the highest quality for the best experience during the session. And with all that said, I hand over the mic to our speaker to start the session.
All right. Thank you so much, Hossam. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time and hope everyone's keeping well and safe. And hopefully the session will be beneficial to that time that you allocated. If you've been to Microsoft Reactor in Abu Dhabi before, you might have seen me present few sessions on DevOps and containerization. I've been speaking at startup venues and startup events in Microsoft and mentoring startups in the UAE for the past 7 years. And I'm happy to be here with you today to deliver this session on media solutions and AI. I think given now everything has been moving fast forward digitally, and content is more abundant, I think media solutions can play a great role in driving that innovation piece forward. And I think as a startup, you might be building solutions targeting media solutions, targeting media industry, and you might be looking at ways and ideas, at least from a technology perspective, on how you can make those solutions richer, more innovative, and tap into the AI space. So the session today, of course, with the Q&A, feel free to ping your question at any point of time. If I miss it, Hossam, my sidekick here, let's be like Batman and Robin, he will be assisting me in case I missed any question, but let's try to keep it interactive. And what I'll try to cover today is a high level walk you through media solutions, and I have some scenarios for you, like common scenarios and things you can do. And at the last end of the session, we'll walk you through how to create one on the Azure portal. Maybe we can go and see the video indexer demo, how we can do analysis, video analysis with AI services. And also there are some sample codes for the developers on this call who might want to tap into what we're seeing today. And allow me to share my presentation, and let me know, Hussam, when everything is there. I think you are able to see my screen. Let me
Yes,
just...
we're good.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Hussam. And we're on. So building intelligent media solutions. Why intelligent? Because media solutions have been there for some time. Back from the first media server, when we had web servers. I speak myself. I come from a Microsoft background, so you're always a user of IIS. So back from the days of IIS 6 or even before, we used to build solutions that delivered media content, streaming, and have those published through web applications, later with mobile. And the solutions are still along those lines of having content. So you need to manage the content. Let me also flip so you can see what I'm talking about. So as you can see in the media and entertainment segment, you have content creation, right? So there's someone who's rendering the content, you have video editing solutions. And then once that content is there, from a technology perspective, in terms of building solutions, building web applications, building mobile applications, there's a need to manage that content, right? So you have asset management. Maybe you need to categorize the content, make it searchable. You need to archive. Not all the content will be there all the time, and it's a lot of storage. Archiving is needed. Correlation. So the correlation is having that content searchable in a smart way, because you are able to correlate between different types of content or categories or metadata. And then you have metadata enrichment, how you can tap into that metadata. Talking historically, maybe a decade or so ago, metadata was just around the size of the video. Maybe if you want to do validation on a web application, you used to check if this is an MP3 file or a different type of file type, or you can check the file name to see if the discrepancies. But you didn't have that need or that means, anyways, to tap into the metadata of that media. And now with that metadata enrichment, you are able to have more intelligent types of searches. And then once that content is there and it's stored or being streamed, you need to distribute it, and in some cases you need to monetize it, right? So you have live streaming, linear, you have on-demand delivery, publishing of content, analytics, audience analytics. So of course, media platforms that do that. It's a big thing. That's the whole business model. Sometimes is around audience analytics, and also you have personalization. When people are viewing that content, you don't want to just serve content for the sake of serving videos, right? You could have had them on YouTube maybe. But if you want to build a media solution and you want to personalize that experience, you need to tap into that data, and knowing how to do that personalization and use services that can do that on your behalf. And maybe on top of the personalization, you want to take that journey towards ad targeting. And lastly, of course, it comes with ad targeting, offer management. And all of these are things that you will need to build as features into your application. Some of them are available as third party. Some of them are packaged as services. And then on the other hand, you have these emerging solutions now with CCTV, and you need to have intelligence on top of it. As you can see, machine learning and metadata enrichment is always there. And now you have IoT cameras. I remember a few years back in 2017, we had the GITEX demo, and have the two developers with me in the team, and we built a small prototype of how you can tap into the camera in your laptop or any commodity camera. It can be CCTV footage, and apply intelligence on it, because that CCTV footage you're capturing stream, right? You're getting that stream of data. It can be people. So back then, what we tried to do is to come up with a smart city scenario around construction and workplace safety. And if I have these cameras in the site, I'm able to tap into that stream and see who's on site. Are they? And then when who's on site, that's with face detection, and maybe you can tap that face detection to a repository of users, and then from that repository you do your own queries and searching, and then you are able to see what's the role of that person. Are they authorized to be on the site or not? That's from authorization point of view, which is say maybe this can be considered as safety measure. And then on the other side, you want to see if those resources are wearing appropriate gear. And now with the time of pandemic, it has never been more important. So 3-4 years ago, we were seeing how we can use that camera footage to see if people are using, or the staff is using right gear, from helmet and protective gear like gown. You can apply the same logic, but instead of detecting a helmet, you can detect if they're wearing a mask. Maybe in hospitals, in clinics, in malls, and all of that. So you can do that at scale. And then afterwards, we try to also detect into that stream. So we started with face recognition, being able to detect who's who. Are they authorized? That's authorization. And then from safety, are they wearing the safety gear? You can also tap into inventory, because the camera is there. It can detect like how many tools are there. Is the tool missing? Who took the tool? Is the tool misplaced, right? Like, for example, an oil spill, or back then it was the prototype, but we even tried to simulate if we can detect fire with just few images of fire simulation, because you can detect a flame even before maybe it gets to be smoke, or even maybe you can have smoke images rendered in a way that you teach that machine learning algorithm to detect. So the whole idea is that you have those IoT cameras that you can tap into this intelligence, and also you can apply blockchain to that, so that the media is not being mishandled, or you want to make sure that there's a trust medium over there, so that there's no misuse, or there's no manipulation of that data, especially when it comes to smart cities, CCTV footage. You know, a lot of things can go wrong if someone is able to edit that data. And you can apply these to smart cities, smart stadiums, now to malls, retail, and what have you. So these are the media solutions. But if you think of it, if you want to build any of these, there's an underlying layer of technology that you need to have to build those solutions. So you need media services that deliver these for you. You need storage. You're putting that content somewhere. You need to store it. Not all the content you can put on public repositories, right? This is not your vlog that you want to put on YouTube and share, right? These sometimes are confidential data. Some of them is data that is under personal identification. If you're talking in hospitals, in banks, in cities, right? This is citizen data. You cannot just put it in any storage. So you need the right storage medium for it. And then you need the right compute in terms of hardware, and in terms of maybe machines, virtual machines that you are able to use to do some processing if needed. So there's a compute layer sitting somewhere, because eventually there's code that's running, and there's some sort of a process that's running somewhere on a compute platform. And then you have the networking. In the networking, you may be connecting different sites. Maybe you're connecting to storage that's been stored locally. So you still have, and anyways, networking will include ingress and egress. You're streaming, right? You're uploading and downloading, and all of that is under that networking category. And when you want to add intelligent services to it, then AI comes into play. So you have AI ready-made services that you can tap into. And of course, there are some machine learning algorithms that you can build and containerize and deploy, and then tap into as AI services. So you have both options, and we'll look at them. And then you have content delivery, and content delivery is very important with media. You want to speed up the delivery of your content, so you CDN endpoints around the globe to be able to serve these in a better way. So if I want to describe that journey of having cloud services enabling your media solutions, powerful media solution, you will start here to your left, cloud upload and live ingest. So this is the first step. because you're uploading content, or maybe you're ingesting content live, like what we're having now. There's some sort of a process, some sort of code layer that's doing all of this streaming for us. And then you want to transcode that content, transcoding. And of course, there are many other details that are at this layer. And if I want to just expand, so when you're creating that right media solution, because you want to have secure upload, right, secure storage, and you want to have encoding and packaging of a video or audio content. So the media services that you can use will deliver this scalable platform, so you can build those media workflows. This is a media workflow, and eventually you want to distribute that content to any screen. It can be on a laptop, on a phone, or on an IoT device. So you want to distribute that content to nearly any screen or any network. If someone is sitting here in Dubai, you have almost 5G now. There are some other places around the globe that they don't even have one Mbps connection. So you have to think of all of these scenarios. So it has to be on any network as well. And also you might want to use native or third-party components to be able to upload, encode, protect, and encrypt. And that you can see this in DRM encryption. You want to encrypt your content. Sometimes the content can be trademarked. You have, and you don't want anyone to just especially now in these days where lots of forwarding is happening, and you want to make sure that your content is not compromised. And then, of course, the streaming between live, video on demand, and what have you. And once you go to that last layer, which is the player clients, right? You have those clients that are playing those media solutions for you. You want to engage the audience anywhere and anywhere, anytime. So that's why you have different means. So you can have live and video media streaming. Also in that zone, which is the clients, you want to have expanded reach with lower cost and greater flexibility, so that, as I mentioned, you can reach any player on any network. And once you have that journey in place, maybe the first layer is just to get the content encrypted, transcoded. Transcoding and encoding is a very important layer, because you want to serve it on a, let's say, an Apple device, and it might have its own content encryption and encoding. And you might want to serve it on an Android device, and that's a different technology. So you want to make sure that you're doing that encoding and transcoding right, and you don't want to upload multiple formats of that same file. That's why you can have the option of doing live encoding, and once you get to the client, it will be encoded, and you have one copy of that file instead of having multiple copies with different formats. And once you want to deliver the content, you have that delivery mode where you personalize the media. Now, of course, you want to have support for iOS, for Android, HTML5. I don't know if you still want to support Flash, but maybe there is a need to support Flash at a certain point where you have lots of people still on legacy solutions. So these are the things that you want to think of when you're having that journey of media solutions. And if I want to focus on the first layer, which is ingesting content to the cloud, as you can see, you have media libraries. So the media libraries, they can be active content, historic content. They can be also on different formats. You have people still maybe on discs or tape or film. And also there's content that is still offline. You have online content, and offline content, maybe in offline ingestion, the data is very, very big. So you need to think of the options that you have to ingest that data and put it on the cloud so you can distribute it. And then you have the production houses and the distribution that's happening when it's online. So you need that networking layer to be able to connect to those servers, have a local cache of the storage that you have, and think of all those options around that networking layer, and having your storage APIs or your web APIs that you have built, being able to tap into that through maybe command lines or tools, or just directly through the API layer. And in the offline ingestion as well, you want to have fast local data ingestion. You want to have S encryption to protect the data in transit. That's very important also. And for the online options, you will need to think of also the encryption of the data in transit. So many options and things to consider just at the ingestion layer. And once you have that, and then you're building this solution, you're serving it. There are APIs that you can use. There's a media player that you can tap into, and then you're serving that content. So now you're serving that content, and that's a very typical scenario. And as I was talking earlier, you might have the need, or now given all of the asks to analyze content and make use of it, because eventually if you're having just CCTV footage, let's say, and you're archiving it and waiting for an incident to happen, and then you have to review the archive maybe for the past week, and you're always being reactive in the old model. With AI, now you can be proactive. You can be ahead of the curve. You're detecting instantaneously and responding to that, to the incident, or to the data that has been detected in the content quite faster, and you're having richer insights into that video data that you have, or maybe audio data. And then on the other side, also you want to apply AI, as we mentioned earlier, to do personalization for scenarios like retail and many others. And knowing your audience also, that's very important. Just give me 1 second to see if in the Q&A there's anything published. Wheels, if we get the link. Okay, nothing so far for me. Just wanted to pause here, see if there's any questions. If not, we'll keep on going. So far, Hussam has been handling the Q&A. There was just one question. Thanks, Hussam. So back to the deck. So I just wanted to pause before we talk about the AI layer. So if you have that media content, which now very easily you can build and you can serve, then you want to use algorithms to make your application smarter. And how do you make your media application smarter? Is by adding cognitive capabilities to it. Cognitive meaning our own cognition. So as humans, we have the ability to use vision, speech, language, also to tap into knowledge and have a smarter search. So if we can just look at the first three, which are capabilities of cognition. So vision, to be able to detect faces, feelings, allowing the app to understand images and video. And that's, you take this for granted now, but if you've been developing for some time and you've been developing solutions maybe a decade ago, the best that you could have done on a video file or an image or an audio file earlier in the days is to see the file type and the file size and the file name and few things. That was just the metadata you could not tap into. And that was maybe done, but in research labs with folks who, PhD degrees in data science and very smart people who are working on AI solutions and deep learning and machine learning algorithms. It was not abundant to the masses, right? And you won't see your average developer or any, forgive me for the word average, but I mean like any developer around the globe having access to be able to do things like that on in a very simple manner. So you needed to have the knowledge, the know-how, the tools, which were not very abundant. Now you can just tap into that with APIs. So you can, with that video content, be able to detect what's in the image. Not just what the image file is, or a file size, or file name, or file format. Now you can see what are the faces. In the face, you can detect more than 60 data points in the face, you know, from if your face is tilted, to which angle, what are the coordinates of your pupils in in the image. You can detect also more than 60 faces per image. You can detect gender, age, if someone's wearing a hat, someone's wearing glasses like myself here. So many things that you can tap into to understand the image and also to understand the video. Now, if you think of it, take whatever you can do at an image level and apply it to a video, because it's still a stream of images. A video is a stream of images. So if you're able to do face detection, emotion detection, image recognition in terms of what's in the image, objects, dominant color. You have a lot of things that this JSON file is returning to you in terms of metadata from that image. The same will apply to a video because it's a stream of images. Now we go to the second part, which is speech. We as humans, we are able to hear, we are able to speak to users, we can filter noise, we can identify speakers by their voice, we can understand the intent of their speech. And that's what a media solution should be able to do if you want to apply AI to it. If you have a video, you should be able to not just play the audio in that video, you want to analyze the audio. Maybe you filter the noise, identify who are the speakers in that video. When did that speaker start talking? What was the tone in that video, right? Understanding the intent, what were they talking about? So all of this is AI on top of that video and audio content to be able to tap into the speech in comparable way to how humans can do it. And then there's language. When people are talking in an audio or in a video file, they have intents and there's content in that, and you want to analyze the content. Is the content date time? Is the content location? Is the content an event, right? So you have context of the content from the language. You are able to decipher that. The application should, right? And you can process the text. So we start at the image, and that image is the content that can be in a video stream. And then on top of the image, you have audio. And from that audio, you can transcribe and get the text and then process the text and learn from the text and also recognize what users want from the text. So that's language. And if I miss anything, I think image, video, and then audio with it. And if it's not audio, if it's just written text in an image, you are able to do so as well. These three combined. And once you have that knowledge assembled, then maybe you're gathering that knowledge from that audio file, but also you can map this knowledge to somewhere else, right? So similar to human capabilities, we have a lot of knowledge from so many sources that our brain is able to correlate, map, and then tap into that and provide insights. So similarly, video content, audio content, images, you are able to tap into knowledge bases somewhere else, you know, from the web, from academia, or even your own data, and have this correlation and analysis in place. And lastly, once you have the data, maybe the data that you have or open data, you want to search it in a smart way, not just searching by file name, by file size, by date modified. You want to have a human search, like we humans search when we're searching for things, right? We look for so many relevant information among billions of data points out there, and you want your system to do so in a similar manner, right? And that search is what we call intelligent search. So the AI platform, in terms of capabilities, they allow you to have that built easily into your solution. So the AI, video AI capabilities helping you build a solution to transform the video from an opaque object, as I mentioned earlier, to rich metadata store using products. I'll show you later, which is a video indexer. Maybe in the next slide, we'll tap into it. And once you have that, you're able, just to summarize here, you are able to unlock aspects like face, objects, transcripts, emotions, and many more, which can be used either to enhance discoverability of your content or use that metadata to drive better personalization. So there's always that end result of what you're doing this on your application. And this, when combined with personalization services that you can use maybe on Azure, you have that unique reinforcement of a learning-based product, which can significantly drive up your engagement, the engagement of the users with your media, or the personalization. No one just wants to push media for the sake of pushing media out there. You want to have something out of it, right? So that holy grail, or that nirvana, is the combination of having audience intelligence, video analytics, and personalization algorithms, which can hyper personalize the content that you have, so you can drive deeper engagements, and hence, if you want, better monetization. So I was talking about video analysis, and we want to show you a video indexer, which is a media service that you can tap into on Azure. You see, nope, no questions. You have that service called Video Indexer, part of the Azure Media Services. Azure Media Services have more than one piece of feature or service that you can use to have this holistic journey of content delivery. So if you want to see the challenges that this service can address, basically extracting insights from a video or audio asset. Simple, that's the challenge. You want to extract deep insights from a video and audio asset. The use cases of this can be accessibility, closed captioning, video highlights. So imagine this video now that we have with on Teams, or if you're using Microsoft Stream, you see all these features, you know, from close CC to video highlights to content to moderation, user engagement, accessibility, deep search, right? So all of these are provided and served by you know, a SaaS solution using Microsoft. But maybe you want to build the same on your own platform. Maybe you want to build the same services and features for your own media solution. That's what the Video Indexer allows you to do. So as you can see, you have audio and video analysis. In the audio, you have transcoding, language identification, emotion recognition. If someone is speaking, you know, in a harsh manner, or if someone is happy or angry. You also have voice activity detection. You can have brand detection, sentiment analysis, very important, topic modeling, and keyword extraction, right? So you have, let's say, a TED Talk, right? You want to analyze the video of the TED Talk. What were the main topics discussed? How was the speaker's sentiment of the topic? And so many other things that you can apply. And then when it comes to video, then of course you add the image capabilities on top of the audio capabilities. You can do OCR. You want to see, you know, what's written, right? So maybe handwritten or slogans or text. And maybe you want to do shot detection, keyframe extraction. You're also adding labels. You can think of face grouping, best face selection in a video, right? So you can have more than one shot of that person in that video, but you want to get that best face selection, which you can see now in those smartphone cameras, where you have a video and then selects the best face for you. And this is something that you can add to your solution. Face identification, of course, we talked about earlier, transcoding, face detection, and many others. So that's between audio and video, and every video will definitely have audio in it, so you can combine those. So it's an all-in-one solution. You have simple administration. There's data visualization piece. I'll show you at the end in the demo how you can use that. You can customize it for your specific data needs, and you can easily connect it to the media services that you have on Azure for other media needs, you know, from content distribution and encoding and what have you. So this is a sample, just a screenshot I'll show you later. You can always try it out, videoindexer.ai, or vi.microsoft.com. As you can see, this is a minute and 30 seconds video where someone is talking at an event. And then it was able to detect the people in that video. As you can see, for example, here the speaker, he appears in 1.62% of the videos. All of this is rich data. These are the insights, and of course you can tap into the timeline. I'll show you later. And then you can see the keywords, the labels, and many other insights that you can have. And the great thing about this is that you can have this in your solution. You can build something very similar to this with a very simple way through the code of your web application, or maybe existing, or you're building one that's new. So after you've had this AI driven approach, maybe then you want to have AI personalization of that video content, right? So of course you want to have a video AI that's using the insights to drive personalization, so you can have deeper understanding of the content. Maybe you can have a dynamic feedback loop from user behavior back to serving user content, and of course have individual targeting versus editorial curation at the segment level. So you have this journey of identifying the content, analyzing it, adding content to it, and then basically getting insights. And after you're getting that insights, you want to use those insights to do something meaningful. Now, I want to pause here, just see. Okay, we don't have any questions. So going back to our deck, I want to pause and just switch gears and talk about architecture of such solutions, needs, and how to address them from a technology perspective. So I just picked a very typical solution where you need to build a media application, media content solution that can, so I added few data points here. Not necessarily every solution that you build need to have this, but just wanted to cover as much as I can so that you can get an idea of what components that you can use for your applications from an architecture perspective and from a workload perspective. So here, a common scenario where you have a solution that needs to scale globally. I picked Contoso just for the sake of branding here. So familiar with it in terms of technology solutions, samples, and what have you. When you go to GitHub, you will find all of those solutions and samples using Contoso. It's familiar grounds for you. So the solution needs to scale globally. You need to lessen the burden of content development. So I'm starting here from the business needs. Automatically generating video transcripts, right? So this is content development. You want to lessen that burden. Maybe you want to translate. That's another burden of content development, having translation of this content to other languages. Then comes the media protection and privacy. So you want to protect your solution or DRM it, and to keep that IP from getting stolen, right? You don't want anyone to just take that video and use it somewhere else. You also want to make that content easily searchable, and you want to have an administration portal. So not everything will be manual, where you're uploading scripts, you're uploading content through scripts and all of that. You might have a portal where users, power users or administrators are able to do that without having that technology knowledge to be able to upload content and maintain it. And lastly, try to minimize overall maintenance and overhead cost of the solution. So that's the solution needs. If I want to architect a solution that matches those needs, as you see here, a common scenario where you're having video on demand for a digital media solution. You can see the components here in the solution. So you have storage, right? So you have video files, they're on a storage component. So here in the storage, if I want to break down the components, make it easier for you. So in the storage, you are able to store large amounts of unstructured data. You can have text, binary data. It can be accessed anywhere via HTTP or HTTPS. Now that blob storage piece here, you can expose data publicly so that it can be read into from your application, or you can store the application data privately. Then you can see here the top left, the encoder, right? So you can use the encoder to encode jobs of the most common processing operations in media services. So the encoding jobs will convert media files from one encoding to the other. Very simple and highly needed in any media solution, right? And then you have the streaming. As you can see here, you have the content. If you now browse a storage file, you can see, for example, your repository and then your file name, dot file type, and then you will have that URL if you're exposing it publicly. And if you access that, you will just download the content, right? If you have a media player, maybe you can access that and the media player will use it. So you need a streaming endpoint at this level. So that streaming service can deliver the content directly to a client player application. Maybe your client player application is your application, or you want to deliver it to a CDN network for further distribution. So that you have that content being streamed. So then you will have streaming, endpoint and the CDN to provide secure and reliable content delivery over that global reach, right? So we pause here, you have the CDN, and then the content is ready to be delivered, right? It's being streamed to a content delivery network around your users. And now someone needs to play that file. So they play it in a browser or they can play it in a mobile app. As you can see, you will need here a media player. So you can use the Azure Media Player. It's easily incorporated into your solution. It has industry standards. You can use HTML5 industry standards, MSE and EME, and allows you to provide rich and adaptive streaming experience. Content changes in terms of screen size and what have you. So you need to have that rich user experience at the end of that streaming exercise. And also you want to have it played regardless of the playback technology used. So that's why you can tap into the as in terms of a developer experience, you can tap into the JavaScript. There's a unified JavaScript interface to access the APIs of the media player. And if there's a need to copy protect your content, you can use multi-DRM content protection. So the media player can tap into DRM content protection so that you can deliver the content securely using that multi-DRM. So you can think of Play Ready, Widevine, Fair Play streaming if you want, or just a typical AES key encryption. So that's a common scenario of a video on demand digital media solution. So as you can see, different components here. This is from the ingestion layer to the streaming and delivery at the end. Now, if you think of other scenarios where you want to, on top of playing the media, serve it and be able to analyze content on top of it. So as you can see here, almost still the same journey: storage, encoding, streaming, CDN, take it to the media player. And then the media player is being served through a web app, or it can be a mobile app. After that, you want to have your content searched, right? So that's keyword search and smart search capabilities. And once you have that search, then you are able to extract keywords. You are able to extract web VTT, and those files that you can extract from that content, and then you can use Azure Media Indexer or the OCR Media Processor to be able to tap into that data and serve it back into the search. So the web app will include search in it, so that you can have a smart search with someone, you know, you have your repositories of videos. I'm typing, let's say, Microsoft Reactor, right? Microsoft Reactor Abu Dhabi. You are able to filter Abu Dhabi, then it filtered the metadata for the location, Reactor. Maybe you want to add another keyword, but to be able to, so for the Azure search to serve you that smart data back, it uses the media indexer, right? So the media indexer talks to the files that are stored in the blob storage, get that rich data back with that OCR media processor, and also if you want to tap into the spoken content in that video, then it becomes speech to text, analyze that, provide these as content back to the Azure storage, and then it displays it in the web application through smart search. Now, if I want to run you through this solution, as you can see, it's a preferred solution if you're building something like this to address the need. As you can see here, there's an admin, the web app is that admin website. It can be admin website for the users to go through the videos that are uploaded to the repository. This can be the employees, internal, maybe this is an internal website. Also, you can make it public, so you can have a public end user website for which your external users can watch video courses, maybe including access to video insights like transcription, captions, and let me add captions here with Teams. So now you can see my captions. This is a feature that you can enable in your application very easily with the media services. Let me turn it back off so that just we don't add extra bandwidth. So captions, search features back to the application. This is all served. So if you want to serve those, you will need a web application or that mobile app to serve this content back to the user. And then you have the background processing that's happening. So the background processing, you can implement it with a serverless architecture. You can use a workflow or integrator, so a workflow component or integrator like logic apps, where you can, because the logic apps can connect to the media services on Azure, or you can write your own through Azure Functions. You're writing code that just does one thing. Maybe you're processing something before you're serving it, or you're processing, maybe it's an image that you just want to watermark before you serve it to the user. So all of this is background processing that you can just do with serverless computing. The media index, so the media indexer, in case this was video, so you have the Azure Video Indexer service, and it has its API, so it provides you with video encoding, indexing capabilities, as well video streaming to the public or end user website. And then in the database, you can add a database component here, not listed, but you can think of a database component to store application data, right? This is useful sometimes if you want to keep track of some data that you're generating here, or maybe searches, number of searches, what are people searching for the most, and what have you. And you can maybe use a NoSQL database store for higher scalability, or if you can just use a relation database, then that would be fine. Just maybe you can tap into that data later for a richer personalization journey. So that's how a solution can look like if you want to build this mapping to the needs that we talked about earlier. So you can see storage for the videos. There's an admin website to upload the content for your users, and then you need to manage that. So management website, and the website, to be able to upload and manage that content, it just talks to the APIs of the storage layer and the APIs of the database, or the API of the media layer, right? And you want to, as I mentioned, store some content in a relational database or what have you. You want to do background processing with some serverless compute. You write functions, maybe here to update video status. If it's an image, maybe to add watermark to it, and you can think of any other scenario. Think of the function layer here as an event-driven model where you can have this code run just for a very specific thing, be it responding to an event, be it so the event can be any trigger from a web endpoint or a database endpoint, or it can be scheduled, right? Maybe you have a schedule that you want to run every day for doing something on the videos. And then you have the logic app if it's needed or used because it has a video indexer connector. As I mentioned earlier, the logic app is that workflow layer. Maybe you can use it with the video indexer connector so you can have encoding and transcription. Now you can do this piece in the Azure logic app manually. You can write the code. I can tap into the media services APIs. I can do that. But logic apps allows you to abstract that from code and do it in a workflow that's designer based and easier to use. Then you have the videos indexer service here that's serving back to the front end app for the consumers. So you can now have web apps that are separate. You have one that's for the consumers, the external users of your company, and one for internal. Why do you want to separate the web app components here? So that you don't affect your web app can scale for thousands of users, right? Or if you have global reach, for even more. But your web app can be just 5 users in your company who's doing the content management and uploading of the content. So you don't want them to affect each other, because one can scale separately from the other and at different levels. And then, of course, the media player, which is a pivotal component here. You will always need a media player to serve the content. Now, if you look at this solution, you have admin and public end user website. It can be hosted on an Azure web app. You also have a separate plan, as I mentioned, for each app so that they can be scaled independently, which is very important. You don't want to have one traffic affect the other. The admin website can also have different means of authentication. Your external users might not need to connect to a corporate directory of users, right? Maybe Active Directory or what have you. But your employees need maybe to do single sign-on. You already have a repository for authentication that you are using and you wanted to connect, while the external might not even need to be signed in. So they can have different authentication means altogether, and the web app is easily integrated into that authentication layer. Also, you have the video encoding layer. Let me expand with text so it's easier for you. So in the video encoding and transcription, you can use video indexer API. It provides you video encoding. It provides you video transcription with audio and ACR, and also you can add translation layer to it. And in the background processing, the video files that you upload to Azure Storage Content, you can tap into that because the Azure function, by default, it can connect to those services on Azure. So it can detect, so if you connect it to a storage, it can easily detect if the file has been uploaded, if there's a file that has been edited or modified. So you can have your own trigger, and you don't have to write that with APIs. You can just have the connector, and then your code can just be a one-liner or two that does something when a file has been uploaded to that storage. The logic app also can do something similar. It can be triggered to upload videos to a video indexer service once that has been uploaded to the storage. And also with the functions, you can integrate with the logic app, so you can have a video processing status in the backend database doing something. What I tried to do here in those 3-4 slides, just to expand on that reference architecture that you have seen for those components that you can use on Azure to build those solutions. And you can always, I'll show you later, you can always go to the website. You will see on the Azure public documentation of the media services, many of those reference architectures, and you can also tap into further documentation on how to do that with the APIs, different programming languages. You can do this with Node.js, you can do this with .NET and what have you. So now demo time. Let me first pause, see if there's any questions. I can see still 3 published. Let us know what oh, okay, that's Hossam. So if there's nothing, I'll just switch screens. And yes, something is being shared in the live event. Okay. Forgive me, my first live event, so I'm getting used to the whole tooling. It's actually like a Teams call, but with more features. I assume you are able to see my screen. So this is the video indexer that I was telling you about earlier. So I'm signed in here. You can see I have a trial account. You can easily try this out. You can upload your videos so that you can test this on your own videos and libraries. You can invite other users to work with you here. You can see here I can have content model customization. So you can play around with that. Let me minimize. As you can see, you can add people, you can add languages, you can add brands, you can add animated characters. So here you're customizing that content model of the media content. I'm signed in here. This is my user. Let me go back to the video indexer. You can upload your library, as I mentioned. They upload your files and start searching for text keywords. You can see more filters, animated characters. Where do you want to find it in the entire video? Transcript only, labels, named entities, by language. You can have new projects that you can work on. I'll go just to the sample videos, plenty here to see. And since build is upon us this month, so maybe we'll play this video from build 216, 4 years back, old but gold. So here to the left, you can see the Azure Media Player. Let me try to inspect that. You can see my screen anyways. So as you can see here, there's a player that's embedded, and this is the output of it. This is the aftermath of the JavaScript that's being with HTML that's being rendered for this media player. As you can see, this has been generated, and this is the Azure Media Player. I'll just go in it. It's embedding an iframe. Drilling down just to show you that all of this has been rendered with that media player with all of those options. Okay, so once that video loaded, as you can see, so this is the Azure Media Player being used here. You can change playback speed. You can add captions, maybe in English. You will see the quality. You can expand this, or you can take this to a separate player. You can embed this video indexer with the URL. As you can see, it becomes an iframe, and that iframe, of course, will have its own token for access and all of that. So you can embed it in your website, or you can just download the file if you allow download. As you can see now, the video is playing. Of course, it's 2 hours. We're not going to play all of that. But in the span of those 2 hours, we had 239 people recognized. You can see Scott Guthrie, Microsoft Vice President for Cloud and AI. He appears in almost 10% of this video. You can, so now you see how we started with content being driven by insights from the video, and then you have knowledge base that's sitting somewhere else. So we detected from the face, this is Scott Guthrie. You can connect to any knowledge base. Maybe it can connect to your own data store and retrieve that information of who is Scott Guthrie. And also, if he's a known figure, then you can see a biography that's public, and you can put it here, or you can add another search to find that person on a search engine on Bing here, for example, with more data. So you can also tap into other people. Let me tap here into this face, and you can see appears in 0.1% of the video and appears at this specific point of the video. I can click on it and then you can see the person in that video appearing. The same thing for Yina. She's appearing here and there. You can see she's being tagged on all of the time points that she appeared in this 2-hour video. So that's with people. You can see long list. And then the topics. So from that content in that video, so the audio has been transcribed, and then you were able to tap into the text analytics, and then you managed to get to the topics. And now you see all of those topics that been, so if you see Cloud Foundry, for example, someone talked about Cloud Foundry at minute 22. Here. Also other topics, and you can tap into and see at which specific point in time. Also labels, you are able to tap into many of the labels. So you have a labeled person here. And it's very simple. Labeled person means every time a person appeared. So these are metadata that you are human face. Also, you are able to see how is that data correlating those labels with. So you can see 579 labels generated from that video content. Also named entities. That's language understanding, right? We are able, so first this is image recognition, right? So you're able from the image to detect all of those metadata points. And now from that video content, you are able, video and audio content, you are able to detect entities. So this is language understanding. This is NLP at its best. Locations, people, brands, and what have you, and of course connecting to other knowledge-based sources, and then you can find more information here. So if you find San Francisco, you do a query to Bing or Google and what have you, and then you retrieve that data and show this description here at that point. Emotions, also we are able to detect emotions from that video. As I mentioned, emotions come from that image recognition layer at the face API and the emotion API. Scenes also from that video. 53 shots in this scene that were taken and 2 keyframes that were detected in this shot. So if you go to a shot, you can see the keyframe is changing in every shot. So this is just a glimpse of what you are doing. You can always download here, set the translation. Now it's set to English. You can change it. Maybe you want to see in French. And now you tapped into the translator API, and suddenly all of those insights can be generated in a different language. That's amazing here for the region. We live in a cosmopolitan region, UAE, you know, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, plenty of diversity here. We have so many nationalities, so many languages being spoken, and maybe you want to deliver a media solution that caters to all of those needs. You don't want to be doing this manually and try to translate all of that. So you can use a service like this as a translator API layer to just translate those insights that you have to another language. Also, you can click here and show the types of insights that you want. Maybe I want sentiment. OCR is being detected, keywords is being detected. I don't want keyframes. If you want, you can add it. And you can see also you can look at the storyboard, filter by just captioning or just all. And now you can see all of that being detected. So you can play with what you want in terms of visual. Now we go to the timeline. So this is the timeline of the video content, and you can see the timeline will be generated with this video indexer API. And if I take you to the documentation, so you can just go to Azure documentation. As you can see here, you have analyzing video and audio files with Azure Media Services. You can read all about this, how you can do that. And of course, you can see here the JSON file being retrieved. For example, here an OCR output. here the shots. So all of those components that we were talking about here, right? So you have, go back to the insights. We have topics, entities, emotions, and right when we were here filtering, OCR, transcript, speakers. If you just drill down, these are JSON results coming back to you from the service, and you're using that to, you can display it, and this is one sample of app. You can display it in many different scenarios. So we can just giving you a sample here. This is visual content moderation. For this content, you have adult score, you have a race score, the instances. So where does it start and where does it end? This content piece. Of course, you can go to the tutorial and you can see how you can analyze videos with the media services. There's this SDK sample for it. You can also have the steps, same steps you can use with REST API, with CLI, also other supported SDKs. So not just for our .NET developers, but also if you're using Java, Python, Node.js, Go, and there's a Ruby SDK also that you can use to tap into the same features. It's a very rich SDK. Here, you can also browse code, or you can deploy. So this is a serverless workflow with Azure Functions and Logic Apps. Remember the reference architecture I was showing you earlier? You can see that sample code on GitHub. You can just go to code samples, Azure Media Services, and you will see plenty of those. So I just went to browse code samples on Microsoft documentation, and it just filtered by media services. I saw these. For the sake of time, now I wanted to show you how you can build one from scratch. We could never do that in 1 hour. I just wanted to cover the topics and the technology behind it, and you can always, and of course, if I pick .NET now, if you have other developers or not, .NET will not cater for. So I didn't want to tap into the coding piece, but you can always browse these on the code samples. I can browse the code on GitHub. I can deploy directly to Azure. Let me just duplicate the tab. You can see if you see it here. On Azure, you are able to deploy it directly because this connects to a DevOps pipeline. It can have ARM templates listing all the resources that you want on Azure. This is a proper infrastructure as a code or a DevOps pipeline where you are deploying those services with what you need on Azure. This is a GitHub repository. It's in C#. As you can see, I can just clone here and use this in my solution. So clone, and then I can have it locally in my Visual Studio. I also downloaded earlier an app modernization. So this one, so many tabs open. I downloaded a folder that includes a typical sample for media services. I can just extract this all to desktop, create the folder, Reactor. The code on .NET, apologies, I'm a .NET developer. So if you want to see it in other sample codes, you can see it. I wanted to go back to the template. I told you earlier that you can deploy this straight to Azure. So using ARM templates, Azure has this model where everything is components and resources, and you can put this in a template, access the resource groups with parameters and customization of the specific features of the service that you want to use. I can deploy this to existing resource group. I have this one Reactor demo Rami earlier created, the region of the Azure that I wanted to use, maybe one that's a bit closer to us, Southeast Asia, call it AMS functions. So these instance details, this is from the ARM template, right? So you're filling that input parameter here, and it's affecting what basically will be created on the Azure services that will be used. I created one earlier for the sake of making this a bit faster. So I just went to create new resource, media test, and now I have this media service here. As you can see now, the features will differ. If it was a web app, you will see web app features here. This is media services. Now I can see the API access, which is new here. You can see this right on the portal. How you can manage your AAD if you have Azure Active Directory app that's using this media service. You can manage it here in terms of authentication. You can also have user authentication, legacy v2 or v3 with the domain here of your tenant, Azure AAD tenant. So this is authentication layers to keep your content more secure. Also, you have content protection that you can tap into. So play ready templates and what have you. I downloaded this earlier. So as you can see, if this media services v3.NET Core functions integration, it has three components. There's an encoding solution, there's live and video DRM, video on demand DRM operation, and you have advanced VOD functions. And each of these is a solution that will be deployed. And you can find all of this code here. Let me go to my desktop. So you can, so we can load the solution that we downloaded earlier. As you can see from the sample that I have on GitHub, you have more than one folder. So you have the video encoding if you want to look at it separately. You have the live ingest, how you can ingest with so you remember in the digestion layer, you have live ingest and you have offline ingest. You have dynamic packaging, video on demand content with the stream on HLS and Dash. Content protection, you will have here 4 scenarios: offline fair play, basic wide vine, basic player play ready, and basic AS clear key. So you can get a different flavor, and also audio analytics solution here, how you can use audio analyzer in your application. You see here a sample video file that you can see. So great content in terms of code that you can find on the samples, and you are able to tap into. Going back to Azure's example here, content protection, I can change the license type, persistent, non-persistent, and the parameters will differ, of course. So going back to the, let me cancel. Going back to the media service itself, you can add jobs. So you can have jobs that run. You can specify the values of the jobs, and you can see the jobs that you've added if they're queued, scheduled. These are media service jobs. You have live streaming you added here also. So these were basically things that you needed to do in the API in the code earlier. Now with the previews on Azure and the latest version, you are able to tap into straight from the Azure portal, add a live event, create one. As you can see, the journey starts from the external encoding to the live event all the way to the audience. It's a great wizard that walks you through all of these. And now just going back to the overview, you can also when you load this as a new workload, the overview service will show you first the REST API endpoint. If you want to tap into the API directly, you can tap into those if you want to call them features, but I call them journeys in the media services, right? So you have the encoding. You want to, so sometimes you're just doing maybe few of these and not all of them, right? You might be using encoding and live streaming and not doing video indexer. So you can see at each stage what you want to use. So for example, encoding, upload the video, takes you here where you can drop a file, upload it, and be able to use it in the media player to stream it or to apply video indexer on it. You have the streaming endpoints, you have the storage account that you can link it to, and so many other solutions. I love this API access now because it just allows me to do authentication into my media service directly without having to handle all of the intricacies of the authentication. Maybe you're not super familiar with Active Directory and what have you, and you just want your users to authenticate to that corporate authentication mechanism, and you can just use this Azure service here. And if you want to see the samples, you want to dig deep into it and see it in different programming languages, .NET, Java, Node, Python, you are able to do so as well. So you have those two options that you can see here. You can fill them in a JSON file, in an XML file, and in a text file. You can copy these credentials and maybe put them in the API where needed. I'll pause here again. This is the third pause, I guess, just to see if there are any questions. None so far. And I'll flip back and go to the deck. So we're a bit over time. As I told you, cannot compress all of that media content into an hour and a half. So I just wanted in today's session to give you this broad overview of the components, of common scenarios, of the technology behind it, of the business scenarios and the challenges that you can think of. And thank you for taking the time and being with us today. Stay tuned for many more. This is a carousel of pictures from different Reactor events where we, back in the days early this year, where we were able to meet face to face, and we had all these events and sessions with you in person. Many digital sessions will be delivered, of course. I think there were a couple before me, and hopefully I'll be able to be with you on future sessions. So as I said, stay tuned for more that will be delivered through this digital channel. And hopefully very soon we'll be able to convene again in person at the Microsoft Reactor venues around the globe. So with that, a big thank you. Hopefully you benefited from this session, and it gave you a refresher of some of the media services concepts you might know. And if this is all new to you, it's great. At least it can put you on the right path of the things that you want to do with your media solutions. You can always reach out to us if you have other questions offline. We can answer them or point you to the right resource. So with that, I'll see with Hussam if we have any questions in the Q&A.
Well, thank
Hussam,
you, Rami, for
back to
taking
you.
the time. Yeah, I'm here. Thank you, Rami, for taking the time to share your experience with the community, and it was a great session. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. We recently introduced something on a survey so that we know what topics you will be keen to see in the Reactor, and in that way we can also accommodate that in the future sessions. So I'm gonna paste that link in the announcement section along with the event ID, so that you can also use that in the form. So basically, we would love to know the topics you're interested in, what brings you to the sessions, how did you hear about the event, and so on and so forth. So please take a few moments to provide us with that information. And yeah, we have so many upcoming sessions. This week there is Build, of course, and it's a free 48 hours digital event. I would definitely encourage you to register on that. It's absolutely free of charge. The event details and link to register is on the meetup, so you can find that. And we have a very busy month actually, and we have even sessions upcoming in June. So basically, we have sessions every day in the Reactor. You can check out the meetup page. This is where we schedule everything, and there are interesting things that are coming. For example, next week, after the week of Build, of course, we have Predict Values with Regression on Monday. So this is a practical session. It's a different format where we are replacing the offline sessions with this sort of format where you can join as a Teams call. And that is happening every Monday. And on Sundays and Wednesdays is actually where we do sessions like today with Rami and with other great speakers as well, where we cover different topics on data science, machine learning, AI, and so on. So we also will be recording those sessions, like today's session, and we will be putting that on YouTube. So if you missed any part, you want to come back, you want to review something, you want to check certain part that related to the indexer, related to any aspect of the presentation today, you can always come back to that. So that will be on the YouTube channel. So yeah, I think there is only one more question coming. What about adding other object classes to the indexer?
Let me check, because I was
Yeah.
okay. So I was replying. Can you upload static images? Okay. Can you add object classes? But so in the object classes, if I understand correctly, and let me answer this broadly, you can do model customization. So if you mean object classes at this level, yes, but adding object classes, I didn't understand. Maybe if you can just elaborate a bit more, because you can customize your models, and I can share with you the link. I think this can be the closest to your question. Can it be create? Okay, yeah. So I think I understood you. That's why I sent you this link. You can customize the models. So if what you're saying is to recognize specific custom object, that's what the indexer will do. So in order to customize, not everything in the model can be customized. So you have, as I mentioned, I showed you, I think in the demo earlier, you can customize the brands, the languages, the person. You can easily customize those models using the video indexer website itself, or if you're coding all of this together, you can use the API, and they added animated characters detection to it now. And for each of these, I sent you the link. So for each of these, let's say a person, there's a link on how you can customize a person model view to support celebrity recognition, because the celebrity recognition features basically get you that data from open data sources. I can go to Wikipedia, IMDb, maybe LinkedIn influencers. And faces that are not recognized by the video indexer using that open data that you're tapping into are still detected, by the way, but they're left unnamed. So now what you can do with the person model is that you can build your own custom person model to enable the video indexer to recognize those faces that are not recognized by default, and pair it to a person's name with image files of the person's face. This is very typical scenario for your internal users, right? They might not be celebrities who have their images on Wikipedia and LinkedIn influencers, but you have their image files and you have the names. So the video indexer will capture those images. You customize the person model so you can train it so that this is the face of Rami, this is the face of Hussam, and what have you. And then when the video indexer picks our faces in the video, it can match them. So that's a long-winded answer to your question. And maybe the last one, because I need to go in 3 minutes. Can it be trained to recognize specific custom object? No. So the customization that is now allowed or permitted, if you want, on those content models is person, language, brand. So to be able to customize any object at the moment, no, because you have to think of it also from the way that the component was built. So the JSON object that's being returned is based on what the API is exposing. Now, when you are allowed to customize the model for certain aspects of, so when you're customizing some of those models, you are already customizing data that's being retrieved that's not being recognized. If that makes sense, okay? So because this is an API that's ready and it's built, packaged, and you're using it. So this is AI as a service. If you want to build something like the video indexer, then it will require, of course, custom coding and maybe doing your own deep learning, machine learning services to be able to come up to with this level of insights and analytics. I don't know if that answers your question, Anonymous. Sorry, there was no name, so it says Anonymous.
It sounds great, Rami. Thank you again for taking the time to share your experience with the community, and we look forward to more sessions with you. And thanks everyone who joined us today on the live stream, and the session will be ready on YouTube very soon, so you will have a reference. You can go back to it and follow along and review any part that we covered today. Thank you so much, and stay safe, everyone.